The NHL is a league of stars, but sometimes those stars fade, leaving teams with hefty contracts and diminishing returns. It's a harsh reality in the salary cap era, where every dollar counts. This isn't just about underperformance, it's about the ripple effect. These contracts can hinder a team's ability to sign new talent, make necessary trades, and ultimately compete for a championship. This is the story of several players whose contracts have become burdensome, hindering their team's ability to compete effectively in today's NHL. We begin with Ondřej Palat of the Devils, a cautionary tale. Signed for leadership and playoff experience, he was meant to be a key piece. Instead, he's producing at a bottom six rate while carrying a $6 MCAP hit. His offensive impact is minimal, his minutes are shrinking steadily each game. Injuries have further hampered his performance, taking away what speed he had left. At 34, a significant rebound seems increasingly unlikely for Palat. Then there's Elias Lindholm in Boston, a player with high expectations. Boston paid a premium, expecting Lindholm to drive a top line consistently. Right now, however, he's struggling to tilt the ice offensively. He simply isn't producing at the level expected of a true first-line center. His defensive capabilities are strong, a definite asset to the Bruins. But at $7.75 MAAV, Boston needs more than just defensive solidity. They need offensive firepower, the kind that Lindholm isn't currently providing. These aren't just underperformers, they're actively limiting roster flexibility. They are closing competitive windows for their respective teams, a harsh reality in the salary cap era where tough decisions must be made. Next, we examine Jules Saros of the Predators, a goaltender under pressure. Saros is no longer consistently stealing games, a worrying trend for Nashville. His save percentage remains below the league average, raising concerns. Nashville's defensive structure can't fully compensate for his struggles. The contract extends deep into his late 30s with full trade protection. Paying elite goalie money for merely average results is a dangerous position. Moving on, there's Ivan Provorov of the Blue Jackets, a defenseman. Provorov logs significant minutes, but his overall impact is questionable. His offensive contributions are limited and his possession numbers lag behind. He's clearly not performing as a true number one defenseman should. At $8.5 Columbus is essentially paying for a role player's output. This becomes even more problematic as young, promising talent approaches raises. Consider Tyler Seguin of the Stars, whose role has visibly diminished. Seguin's usage tells a clear story of changing team priorities. He's no longer relied upon as a primary offensive driver for Dallas. Instead, he's producing, in short, inconsistent bursts rather than consistently. Health remains a significant concern, impacting his availability and performance. At nearly $10 Dallas is locked into a declining asset with limited flexibility. Then there's Mika Zibanejad of the Rangers, facing challenges. Zibanejad's even-strength impact has notably declined, affecting the team. The Rangers have adjusted his role, shuffled lines, and reduced reliance. These are all signs of a player whose performance is waning. With years remaining on a full no-move clause, this contract poses a problem. Elias Pettersson of the Canucks presents another complex situation. Pettersson has shown improvement compared to the previous season's performance. However, he still isn't dominating games as an $11.6 player should. The consistency isn't there, and Vancouver needs him to be a nightly engine. They need him to be a consistent force, not just a streaky contributor. With no easy exit option, the Canucks are heavily invested in his potential. Darnell Nurse of the Oilers is another example of a hefty contract. He plays heavy minutes and carries a significant cap hit, but results are uneven. Nurse continues to struggle with reads and puck decisions under pressure. The underlying numbers reflect these ongoing challenges on the ice. With Edmonton squeezed against the cap, this contract limits their support. It actively restricts their ability to provide support for McDavid and Draisaitl. These contracts highlight the risks involved in long-term, high-value deals. The struggles continue, and the spotlight now turns to goaltending and defensive woes. Juuse Saros of the Predators is next on the list. A stark reminder of how quickly perceptions can shift. His save percentage has dipped below the league average, a concerning trend. This makes his high salary as a goalie seem like an overpayment. Nashville expected Vezina-level performance, a consistent ability to steal games, but they're not getting it consistently, leading to frustration within the organization. The team's defensive struggles certainly contribute to the problem, but Saros hasn't been the difference maker they need between the pipes. Moving to the blue line, Ivan Provorov in Columbus is logging significant minutes, but his overall impact simply doesn't justify his hefty $8.5M paycheck. While he's a veteran presence, his play hasn't elevated the team's defensive core. He's not the shutdown defenseman Columbus hoped for when they acquired him. The emergence of young, promising defensemen within the Blue Jacket system only exacerbates the issue, as they'll soon be demanding raises. Columbus needs to decide if Provorov is part of their long-term plans, or if his salary would be better allocated elsewhere to support their developing talent. In Dallas, Tyler Seguin's situation is a complex mix of legacy and decline. He was once a dynamic offensive force, but injuries have taken their toll. His usage has steadily decreased, reflecting a diminished role within the Stars' forward group. He's no longer the primary offensive driver he once was. Health concerns continue to plague him, limiting his ability to contribute consistently. He struggles to stay healthy for extended periods. His nearly $10M contract locks Dallas into a declining asset, making it difficult for them to pursue other offensive upgrades and maintain roster flexibility. While Seguin's past contributions are undeniable, the present reality is challenging for the Stars. They need to find a way to maximize his remaining potential. Finally, we examine Mika Zibanejad's evolving role with the New York Rangers. While still a key offensive contributor, his even-strength impact has noticeably waned. His production at 5-on-5 has declined, raising concerns about his overall effectiveness. This has led to adjustments in his deployment and a reduced reliance on him during crucial game situations, particularly in tight playoff contests. The Rangers need more consistent performance from him. Given his full no-move clause and the years remaining on his contract, this is a worrying sign for the Rangers and their long-term cap management. They need Zibanejad to rediscover his consistency at 5-on-5 and elevate his overall game, or his contract could become a significant burden as the team aims for contention. The Rangers' Stanley Cup aspirations hinge, in part, on Zibanejad's resurgence. These contracts highlight the delicate balance between rewarding past performance and projecting future value in the NHL's salary cap environment. Teams must carefully assess a player's trajectory and potential decline before committing to long-term, high-value deals that can handcuff their financial flexibility. Otherwise, they risk hamstringing their roster and limiting their chances of success. The examples of Pallet, Lindholm, Saros, Provorov, Seguin and Zibanejad serve as cautionary tales. These are reminders of the risks involved in handing out lucrative contracts. The hope is always that the player will live up to expectations. But sometimes, the reality is far different, leaving teams in a difficult position. The key is to make informed decisions based on careful analysis and realistic projections. This will help avoid the pitfalls of overpaying for underperforming assets. That's a lesson every NHL general manager needs to take to heart. The consequences of making a bad contract decision can be felt for years to come. It's a high-stakes game, and the margin for error is slim. The teams that manage their cap space effectively are the ones that consistently compete. They are also the teams that are best positioned to win championships. So, while rewarding players for past achievements is important, it's equally crucial to look ahead and anticipate future performance. That's the key to building a sustainable and successful NHL franchise. It's a complex equation, but the teams that solve it are the ones that thrive. The others are left to grapple with the consequences of their mistakes, and those consequences can be very costly indeed. The next section will continue to explore the worst contracts in the NHL. The situation worsens with Elias Pettersson of the Canucks, who, despite improvements, isn't consistently dominating as an $11, 6M player should. He shows flashes of brilliance, but the consistency expected from a player commanding such a high salary simply isn't there on a game-to-game basis. The Canucks need Pettersson to be a nightly force, driving the offense and dictating play, but too often he fades into the background, leaving fans and management wanting more. Darnell Nurse of the Oilers shoulders heavy minutes and a heavy cap hit, but his uneven results and puck decision struggles limit Edmonton's ability to support their superstars. Nurse is tasked with shutting down top opponents and contributing offensively, a demanding role that often sees him exposed. His occasional defensive lapses and questionable choices with the puck can be costly, especially when playing alongside Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, where every mistake is magnified. The Oilers need Nurse to be a reliable presence on the blue line, a steady hand to complement their offensive firepower. However, his inconsistencies make him a liability at times, undermining the team's overall defensive structure. Erik Karlsson of the Penguins still produces offense, but the defensive issues and age make his massive cap commitment unsustainable for a team desperate for flexibility. Karlsson's offensive prowess remains undeniable, as he can still quarterback a power play and generate scoring chances. However, his defensive shortcomings are increasingly glaring, and his age is beginning to show. He is often a defensive liability, struggling to contain opposing forwards and making poor decisions in his own zone. For a team like the Penguins, who are trying to compete for a Stanley Cup now, Karlsson's defensive deficiencies are a major concern, hindering their chances of success. His contract, which carries a significant cap hit, further complicates matters, limiting the team's ability to address other needs and add depth to the roster. The Penguins find themselves in a bind, needing Karlsson's offensive contributions but unable to ignore his defensive flaws. These contracts highlight the risks of long-term deals and the importance of evaluating a player's trajectory before committing significant resources. Teams must carefully assess a player's age, injury history, and potential for decline before handing out lucrative, long-term contracts, ensuring they align with the team's long-term goals. Otherwise, they risk being saddled with burdensome contracts that hinder their ability to compete and ultimately limit their chances of success, creating a cycle of underperformance and frustration. The pressure to win now often leads teams to make short-sighted decisions, but these examples serve as a cautionary tale about the potential consequences of overpaying for past performance. The NHL is a league where every dollar counts, and these contracts serve as a stark reminder of the importance of smart asset management and prudent financial planning. The teams that can avoid these pitfalls are the ones that will ultimately be best positioned to compete for championships and sustain long-term success. The consequences of these contracts can be felt for years to come, impacting roster construction, trade possibilities, and overall team competitiveness, creating a ripple effect throughout the organization. The hope is that these players can find ways to improve their performance and justify their hefty salaries, but for now, they remain cautionary tales of the risks associated with long-term contracts in the NHL, serving as a lesson for teams to learn from. The pressure is on for these players to turn things around and prove their worth, but the clock is ticking, and the burden of their contracts weighs heavily on their respective teams. The weight of expectations can be crushing, especially when the team's success hinges on their performance. Only time will tell if they can overcome these challenges and live up to the expectations that come with their massive paychecks, proving their value and silencing the critics. The scrutiny is intense, and every game is an opportunity to either validate their contracts or further fuel the doubts. These situations underscore the delicate balance between rewarding past achievements and investing in future potential. Teams must navigate this landscape carefully, making informed decisions that align with their long-term vision. The examples of Pallet, Lindholm, Saros, Provorov, Seguin, Zibanejad, Pettersson, Nurse and Carlson serve as a warning, highlighting the potential pitfalls of misjudging a player's trajectory or overestimating their impact. As the NHL continues to evolve, teams must adapt their strategies for evaluating talent and managing contracts. The ability to identify and avoid these potential pitfalls will be crucial for sustained success. The margin for error is slim, and the consequences of a bad contract can be felt for years to come. Therefore, teams must prioritize due diligence and make informed decisions that align with their long-term goals. The pressure to win now should not overshadow the importance of responsible financial management. By learning from the mistakes of others, teams can position themselves for sustained success in the highly competitive NHL. The key is to strike a balance between rewarding talent and protecting the team's long-term financial health. This requires a combination of astute scouting, careful negotiation, and a willingness to walk away from deals that don't make sense.